I just want to talk about limiting beliefs today. I can tell you all kinds of stories where people's limiting beliefs actually got in the way of them succeeding. I remember many years ago, I don't know, about 2002, 2003, we saw a couple for smoking together. The husband was very easy to hypnotize. He just went straight away, and the wife struggled tooth and nail. She just could not relax. And so on the way back, they promised to support each other, but on the way back, she went to the off license, got some cigarettes, and she had a cigarette, and she said, that's better. Even though her husband didn't have a craving, he wanted to prove that his wife was right. And so he had a cigarette as well, and he goes, "Whew, that's better. Okay, these two people working in Birmingham City are just a bunch of charlatans. So rather than put any kind of effort into it, they messed it up. I've got somebody coming tomorrow for crack cocaine. He came to me about 5 years ago for cocaine, and because his family was with him, he couldn't kind of divulge that to them, that he was actually coming in for crack cocaine. So he said cocaine. The therapy that I developed kind of deals with everything. It's pretty generic. And so he quit the crack cocaine as well for 3 months. But why did he start? Because he kind of deluded himself into thinking that he only got the therapy for cocaine. So of course he started using it again, and now he's finally decided that he's kind of let everybody know in his family that it's the crack that's the problem, not the cocaine. And so he's coming back, and we're going to, put him back on track. Normally, I don't like to deal with couples because some couples kind of support themselves, each other, but some don't. And when you see two people, you're asking for double the trouble. I remember seeing a couple for cocaine. They used to do it together every time. He used to work away from home. Every time he'd come, she would actually, they would actually go and have a drink and then do the cocaine. So I used the therapy, and both of them quit straight away. Absolutely no desire, gone completely out of the mind. And then he went away for about 2 weeks. When he came back on a Friday, he had no desire. He wouldn't have even mentioned it, but his wife said, "Why don't we go and score?" And that rekindled the habit again. And of course, me, poor old therapist, saying, "Oh no, here we go again." I dealt with a couple for heroin addiction, and they both came, and the therapy actually worked pretty well for them both. They both quit, but she was more committed than he was, and so they had no desire for the cocaine, for the heroin. But a little while later, he kind of dragged her down. He kind of went back to doing heroin, and she started doing it as well. And then she realized that really, if she wanted to get her life back, she has to say goodbye to that relationship. So she left him for probably about a year, and when she got herself together, then she helped her partner, get clean as well. And then I got photographs and everything, all hunky-dory, everything's great. Thank you very much. I'm also seeing a guy who's been doing heroin for a long time, and he's pretty much done everything, methadone, heroin, and he was now on Subutex, plus taking methadone, plus taking heroin. And if you looked at his body, it's all perforated. It was very difficult for Jen to get a cannula in him. Very difficult. I mean, we used a hot bath, foot bath. We had to get him to walk outside. We had to get him to do exercise. We tried everything, to get the cannula in him because he's so messed up his body through years and years of drug abuse that it was more or less impossible to get anywhere with him. He's kind of over 50. He's got 2 children and a wife, and the whole family is totally dysfunctional. They all blame each other. He's kind of terrorized them throughout their life. Ever since he's been married, he's kind of terrorized them, but he doesn't kind of realize it. So the only way to get him clean, this was my condition, was to get them out of each other's hair for 3 months. So I told them that he has to move out of the house. He agreed to that. And so he can have a little bit of peace and they can have a bit of peace. And the first time he got his freedom back, guess what he did? He went and scored. So I had to give him a good ticking off for that. It's been about 2.5 months now, and he's been incredibly good. He's been clean. They kind of wind each other up even now, but it would be interesting to see how things pan out after 3 months, because if he's good, if he's clean, then I said, okay, then you can move back into the family house. But that is the condition. If he isn't clean, he's not going back. So hopefully that should be a good reason for him to not just to be clean, but to stay clean forever. Well, the way I look at it, if you can stay clean for 3 months, you can stay clean forever. Then I remember another couple for heroin and methadone and crack. Okay, crack makes things a lot more difficult. And I promised them that I'd get them off the crack, but I said, heroin, I'll get them off that, but they'll have to take some kind of a substitute. But eventually, with Jan's help, we managed to get them off the methadone as well, and that worked amazingly well. However, God, it was like an uphill battle to keep them motivated. The first thing they did, they fell out with each other, and they went back, and even though the therapy had worked really well, the IV treatment worked well. I mean, it always works well. And the first thing they did, went back and they scored with crack. And of course, they don't like to come down. So although they have no desire for the heroin, slowly, about after a week, they started doing the heroin. And oh my God, talk about coaching. It took me so much effort to try and get them back. One thing that wears down a therapist more than anything else is a client or clients that can't communicate. So when you have one client who is non-compliant and who can't communicate, then it's like pushing a really heavy bus up the mountain. But when you have two, it's like pushing 2 really heavy buses up the mountain. It's not easy. It's the most exhausting, most exasperating it's the most exasperating condition you can imagine. It's just horrible. Oh my God, the number of people I've seen for crack, I've seen for heroin, I've seen for cocaine. Cocaine is the biggest, cocaine and alcohol. I've just seen so many people. I've seen people for cannabis, I've seen people for gambling addiction, you name it, and I've pretty much seen it. So what else makes sex? If you link sex with crack, or if you link sex with cocaine, it becomes doubly difficult to get the person off those things, because sex is such a huge addiction, it's such a huge driver. And once you realize that sex just goes to a new heights, a new level after you used crack or used crack cocaine, then trying to get the person off the cocaine or crack cocaine isn't that easy. It's doable. It depends on how committed the person is, but it is not as easy as if they weren't involved in sex. And just recently, I turned somebody away. who got into extramarital sex, and he said he was feeling extremely depressed. And that's why you're feeling depressed, and that's because I had an affair with another bird on the side, and she's basically told me to F off. And I didn't really want to take him on as a client, so I jacked up the price to the same price I charge for heroin addiction, heroin and methadone addiction, you know, those kind of things, crack, heroin, and methadone. And I said, all right, well, I don't know if I can help you, but if you want to come on the program, then I'm going to charge you this much. And thank goodness that kind of put him off, and I haven't heard from him again. But that one would have been very, very difficult to deal with. I dealt with one such case like that where this guy was smitten with this girl, and it was a very toxic relationship. And he'd already shoved a knife in his throat by the time he came to see me. And I said to his mum that if he ever is emotional and he's drunk and he's been doing lots of cocaine, he must be supervised because he's capable of doing anything. Anyway, the story goes that after about 6 months or so, he moved in with her, 9 months? And eventually, every time he would talk to his parents, she would freak out. And after about 6 months, he decided that he can't do this anymore, went home. And on that night, his father, he went out to drink and then used cocaine and got totally plastered. They came back home, and he's supposed to be starting a course in the morning. And so his mom hears a little bit of a racket outside, but she said, well, I should really not interfere with my children. And in the morning, he didn't get up to start his course here, so she went to his room to try and wake him up, and there's blood everywhere. And she said, oh my goodness, what's happened? And then she follows the trail of blood and goes down the stairs, and then goes through the lounge outside, and then she goes into the garage, and there he is, he's hanged himself. If only she had supervised him, and if only she had contacted me to ask for advice, we could have avoided that. I mean, really, life and death isn't in a therapist's hand, it's really in God's hand. But really, when somebody is so drunk, and cocaine allows you to drink even more, then they go through a period of insanity. Everybody does. This is why you should never confront a drunkard person. You should just basically run away or just get away from him, because they're no longer a human being. They're like the most ugly, vulgar part of them comes out. And if you don't believe me, look at the King of Borneo, who got totally plastered, took out his gun and shot every member of his family, and then turned the gun on him and killed himself. And that was after he got totally plastered. Sometimes I wish I had another job. I'm not sure why I'm doing this job, but then when people actually thank me 10 years later or so, thanking me for saving their lives, then it kind of makes it worth it. And this is why I think I've just about had enough seeing people face to face. And if I never have to see another person face to face, I think it'd be too soon. And the only way to reach more people and to help more people, I mean, the idea is to help more people with depression. Depression is a $1 trillion industry, and we have an amazing protocol for depression, insomnia, anxiety, and we have an amazing protocol for every addiction under the sun, all the way to heroin and methadone, and other addictions such as process addictions like gambling. But if I continue to run the business that I am, then I think I'm probably going to go mad. Yes, it's my livelihood. It gives me a livelihood, but therapists can go through such a meltdown. And if it wasn't for the fact that I use electronic medicine and stuff like that, at the moment I'm actually connected to the FSM system, set to concussion and Vegas, because today I was feeling particularly really shitty. Today has not been one of my good days. I've been totally overwhelmed with the amount of work that I got to do, the 3 courses, the website is looming ahead. It's going to time out in a couple of weeks' time, and I haven't even put pen to paper to design it. There's all kinds of stuff. The bedroom is all in a mess after the people who are supposed to fit a wardrobe messed it up. So one wall is all yuck, and it all needs to be sorted, and it seems that I've got to sort it out myself. The only thing I can't do is to box it. So it's all just getting a bit too much, and sometimes you wish, that you use your time more effectively, you used your investment more wisely when you were young, and you wouldn't have to work at the age of 66. You could retire on a good pension. So if you were getting about £1,000 per week, I think you could live on that. And you can easily do that if you had the common sense to start investing early. But I hate the idea that I should just simply retire now, stop doing anything, and then just live on a state pension. That does not seem appealing to me. And I couldn't run away from it anyway, because you can't run away from your clients. Your clients, they will keep coming. But if you put the business online, then the beauty of that is that initially you have to do the donkey work. There's no getting away from it. You have to book people in, you have to do the selling, you have to do the therapy. So you're kind of tied up to the business all the time. But as you evolve, as you get better and better, you can start offloading a lot of those things to other people. You can get other therapists involved. You can get other professionals involved. You can get other doctors involved. And by doing that, and you can also train people to book people in as well, take credit card details and, book them in. And so the beauty of a virtual business that you run online is that you can eventually get your time back, because at this moment in time, and I've never been able to do it ever, is to take a 3-month holiday, say take a 3-month cruise. I couldn't do it. I can't do it because I have these obligations with clients all the time. So even if I had the money, because I've got the clients, I couldn't do it. So the only way I can do that is to put this business online, get other people involved, start making some money, start helping more people, reach more people, a lot more people, and have a bigger reach, a far longer reach, be able to reach people in other countries all around the world. Then you can actually start to leverage your time, and you can then get some of your life back. Otherwise, it's just merry-go-round and you're getting older. If I didn't have this to look forward to, by the way, I think I would go through an emotional meltdown. I'm the kind of person I don't think who will be able to manage retirement, not the way it's come about, not on a state pension. Maybe if some of the things had gone right in my life and I'd really hit the jackpot and I was a part of a system where I'd become a millionaire, yes, maybe I could have retired gracefully, but not this way, not on a state pension. It's every year, every birthday, I think I would be cursing myself. It'll be like, I wish I was dead. But now every birthday, once I put the business online, every birthday would be like something like, wow, look what I did last year. And then, wow, look at what I've got planned for the next year. So it'll be an evolving life all the way to my grave. And that's the best way to go and leave this world. Help as many people as you can. Stay happy, stay smiling, and die gracefully rather than dying disgracefully. So let's hope and pray that we all grow old, happy, fulfilled, and dry and die a decent, good death after living a good life. Amen.